It's Thursday afternoon, which means we're doing sporting history. And today's guest, All Black Sean Fitzpatrick, hardly needs an introduction. Not many people have played as many games for the All Blacks as Sean. 121 international matches, including 92 test matches. Only Kieran Reid and Richie McCaw have played as many matches as captain. Sean had a vice-like grip on the hooker position, filling that slot from 1986 until his retirement in 1998. He's widely regarded as one of the all-time greats. So let's get into it. Hello.
Hi, Jesse.
Okay, we're going to start with one straight out of the science textbook. Your dad was an All Black. He played 22 matches in the 50s. So what do you reckon? Is it nature or is it nurture or is it a bit of both?
I think probably a bit of both really. Dad didn't really, sort of, in those days, there wasn't, social media or there wasn't a lot of talk around the All Blacks, really. And for me, it was just a natural thing to have All Blacks around the house in terms of Dad's mates. So it was never a big thing. Dad never had any memorabilia around the house, didn't really speak about it, and just loved rugby in terms of the community game it was.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably just a job to him, but it wouldn't even have been a job, would it, back in those days?
No, not at all. No, I think he was working at the bank when he first, he was very young. He was only 19 when he got first selected. So no, there was, I can still remember people coming around the house and, doing all those sort of things.
Yeah, and I don't suppose there was much question about whether you were going to actually play rugby. That was a given, no doubt.
I played at College Rifles, where we lived in Meadowbank, and it's basically for Dad it was, just play a team sport and make sure you enjoy it. We were never forced into it, but it was a way of life in those days, Jesse, and the 60s and 70s growing up. The College Rifles, our local club, was the community, the hub of the community almost, where we spent all Saturday down there. Mum ran the tuck shop, Dad coached my brother's team. We'd then stay on to watch the senior team play. Then we'd sort of relive being Brian Williams or Grant Batty or Gareth Edwards. And then we'd head home. That was our weekend, basically.
Gosh, I guess that'd be a whole nother interview about why that community side of rugby's declined a bit. But it sounds like it was more than just a game and really a chance to form a bit of a network and a bit of community.
Yeah, very much so. And I don't think it's a lot different now. Jesse, there's just so much more going on. You look up where we live in New Zealand, Wangapara, the Manly Yacht Club is the hub of the community during the summer, which is great.
Yeah.
It's great to see kids out playing and doing sport.
Now, when did you work out that you were going to be a hooker?
Well, I first wanted to be a number 10.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to be a halfback because Gareth Edwards was sort of my hero growing up.
Cool.
But then it became evident that my body shape wasn't suited for that. I was actually a prop. And it wasn't until I went to the university club that, Graham Henry said to me, you're not quite big enough to be a tight head prop. And we've also got quite a good tight head prop in John Drake. You need to be a hooker. And John Drake, who had been sort of playing in France in the early 80s, said to me, you need to be a hooker, but you need to scrummage like a prop. So it was sort of I was lucky having John Drake, Steve McDowell, those sort of players around me that gave me a pretty easy ride.
Gee, and funny that Graham Henry ended up having a pretty big impact on the All Blacks even back in those days.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, sort of, in those days it was sort of, we had quite a good club team at university with John Drake, Grant Fox, David Kirk. A lot of Auckland players came out of the varsity club, and Graham was ahead of his time almost in terms of the way he coached club rugby. He coached the grammar at first 15 rugby, and then went on to university, then Auckland, and then the All Blacks after a stint in Wales.
So did that all happen really fast for you, going from club rugby to provincial Auckland rugby to the All Blacks? It must have been all over about a year or two.
From schoolboy from Sacred Heart. 1981 was my last year at school, and that was the year of the tour,
Yeah.
the South African tour, and we were a paper team. The New Zealand secondary schools were selected, and unfortunately we didn't play because John Graham at the time, all schoolboy rugby was cancelled in protest to the tour, basically, I think it was in those days.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so following year I went to University Club, and that's where it sort of started, really. I got in the New Zealand under-21s, and I thought I was pretty good, and then I realised when I went away with John Hart on the Auckland team in 1983 on a world tour that I couldn't throw the ball in very well. One Andy Hayden, may he rest in peace, sort of sent me away and said, until you can learn how to throw the ball, and never going to play for Auckland.
Gosh.
That was the biggest learning curve, Jesse, for me. I went away and I was very fortunate that a gentleman called Kevin Boyle from the Marist Club taught me how to throw the ball in.
Wow.
It didn't go very quickly. I had 3 years sort of in on the outside, really looking in. And it wasn't until 1986 when I actually got selected for the All Blacks in 86 in that baby Blacks team.
Yeah.
From Brian Lahore sort of took a punt, really, because he'd coached me at under-21s, so he sort of knew me. Because it wasn't the pathway in those days, Jesse, either. Players got missed, and, because it wasn't the pathway there is now. The Michael Joneses of the world didn't play, New Zealand under-21s. Right. And Brian Lahore selected me for that team, and I wasn't even in the Auckland team at that stage.
Oh, gee, I didn't realise that. So All Blacks before Auckland?
Yeah, well, I'd had a few games for Auckland over the years, but
yeah.
I wasn't actually in the team in 1986.
Yeah.
And then it sort of all changed, really, after that. Those two tests we played against the French and the Australians.
Yeah, and for people who don't know that history so well, there was a team. The All Blacks were to head to South Africa in 85. The tour was cancelled, and some of them decided to go anyway. They were known as the Cavaliers, and they were punished by given I think it was a 2-game or 3-game ban.
A two-match ban.
Two-match ban, yeah. Did you see that all? It's interesting. I've had AJ Wedden in here talking about that, and someone else too. That they were sort of no regrets about that 85 tour, but. Did you see it all go down? Must have been interesting from the sidelines. We
were sort of on the sidelines, really, Jesse. I was sort of involved with Auckland and in and out, and then when they went, it was sort of, I think we played Canterbury down there, and we had no idea in terms of the other players on the Auckland team. Then all of a sudden the game finished, and the guys that were involved in the Cavaliers left the changing room, left us in Lancaster Park, and departed direct to the UK. I think they went via the UK to South Africa. And then we sort of arrived back in Auckland that night. The guys that didn't go, and there's protesters there. Oh, God, it was a real changing time. And, to play in that baby Blacks, in terms of great sporting moments, that was one of the most surreal weeks of my life. We were literally introducing ourselves to each other. I met Eddie's. David Kirk was our captain. JK was there, Terry Wright, Joe Stanley. I think there was 12 of us, Jesse, that made our test debuts that day.
Yeah.
And we somehow, Brian Lahore did this most unbelievable job of getting us together to be at least competitive. And we actually ended up beating them.
In the 87 Rugby World Cup wasn't far away on the horizon, although something else I've learned from talking to John Kerwin and others is that actually heading into that 87 World Cup, a lot of you didn't realise how big that was going to be. It had a bit of an experimental quality to it.
It did, because, as I said, a lot of those Cavaliers came back into the All Blacks in that second test against the Australians in the Bledisloe in 86, and then we went to France at the end of that year. There was still a lot of those old boys still on the team, and literally then sort of 6 months later, the World Cup team was named, and there's a lot of young guys, the John Gallaghers of the world, Michael Jones, a lot of players that hadn't played a lot of Test rugby were selected for that World Cup team, and the country wasn't behind us. There was sort of divided after the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And Brian Lahore once again did this most unbelievable job of taking the game back to the community. We trained at a lot of schools, but he wanted us to be involved in the community, basically trying to turn it around. And you look at that opening game, and I'm sure John Kirwan spoke about that opening game against Italy.
He did, yeah. He did.
I think there was like 13,000 people at Eden Park. And that really showed that there wasn't a lot of love for the All Blacks at that stage of the World Cup. But yeah, we turned it around and played a style of rugby that the rest of the world hadn't really seen at that stage, and dominated.
Was there tension between you young guys and the guys that come back from the Cavaliers tour?
Not really. I think I was so young. I got dropped after that second test, or the first test against Australia in '86, and Hicker came in, Hicker Reid, and he was like an icon to me anyway, Jesse. Growing up and watching him, and then to be in the same team as him. Gary Knight, John Ashworth, these sort of players, Andy Hayden, that were sort of growing up, watching really, and just to be involved in that. And then by '87, the team had sort of changed quite a bit. And, John Hart came in with Frizz Wiley, and the three of them, along with BJ Lahore, were just, once again, as I said about Graham Henry, they were sort of ahead of their times and in terms of the fitness levels we got to, the Jim Blairs of the world in terms of sports science. We hadn't really spoken about that.
Right.
So we were, hugely fit. There was, Andy Dalton. Unfortunately for him, he got injured, but he did a phenomenal job off the field of sort of keeping everyone together.
Did he?
Yeah, and then David Kirk, leading the team was wonderful.
So I'm talking to Sean Fitzpatrick. If you just tuned in, so Andy Dalton, who was to captain the team in the '87 World Cup, he can't play because of an injury. You step in, you get your chance, and then I understand partway through the tournament he's now fit and healthy again, but they don't take you out of the team.
No, I was very fortunate. A lot of, as I said earlier, a lot of the guys that I played my provincial rugby with were in that team. Gary Wetton, Alan Wetton, John Drake, Steve McDowell. At one stage, we were using Steve McDowell as a reserve hooker because Andy wasn't fit, and we didn't want to bring another player into the team, so then you'd lose opportunity. So and Andy eventually got fit and was available, but Brian Lahore sort of kept me in the team, which I was very fortunate and very grateful for. But as I said earlier, Andy was phenomenal in terms of how supportive he was. Andy, I think, was 36 at that stage, and we were like 22 or 23. So he had a huge amount of experience to contribute to the team.
Yeah, and he was in that famous photo of David Kirk lifting the trophy. Andy Dalton's right there, which I guess shows about his importance in the team, even if he hadn't played during that tournament. Yeah. Had you always had leadership on your radar, Sean? I think it was '92 you made captain of the All Blacks, but did you feel like you were a natural leader, like that was something that you wanted to do?
No, not really, Jesse. I sort of my career was sort of 6 years, and that's, that '87 team, '88, '89, we just seemed to be so far ahead of everyone else. Each of us individually were quite good at what we did, and leadership wasn't on my radar at all. I just was happy just being in the team and being a hooker, and I was very fortunate, in terms of the leaders we had around us. I didn't like public speaking, any of that stuff, even talking within the team, I didn't really enjoy.
Yeah.
And then it was literally forced on me. with Laurie coming in. There was literally Mike Brewer was going to be his captain. That was quite clear. And then unfortunately Mike got injured, and there's literally no one else, Jesse. Dare I say it. And it was forced on to me. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, I think.
Yeah.
And it really, really made me focus. It taught me how to transcend ages, that I hadn't really done that before. Different cultures, how do you get the best out of people. So I think I had the leadership skills, but I had never ever been forced to use them, really. I always say to people, it's a good thing to get outside your comfort zone, because you never know that you actually might be quite good at some things that you'd never want to be involved in.
Yeah. 93, a pretty tough series against the British and Irish Lions, and I guess as a reasonably new captain, it would have been a pretty special moment when you eventually took that third test and won the series.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of, we were a young, inexperienced team. We sort of struggled through 92. Then 93 came along, and we won the first test just in Christchurch, and Foxy kicked the penalty right on full time. And we actually probably thought we were better than what we were. And we went to Wellington, and I probably played the worst test of my life. And we lost. But that sort of brought the team together, because we're just going through a learning curve, Jesse. Scott Barrett's of the world, the current team. They're doing exactly what we were doing in 1992, because in those days we didn't work in the cycle, the World Cup cycle. It was just a matter of each year, each game was the most important game of our lives. Where now we're building to the next World Cup. You saw the team last year, the All Black team last year. They're just going through learning experiences in different situations, and playing in South Africa. Scott Barrett is the new captain, and it's exactly what I was like in 92, just learning experiences. And, that second test in Wellington was a major learning curve for that team. And then we went on and, we won the series, which was a great day at Eden Park. And, we learned a lot from that going forward. But, to beat the Lions, you don't get many opportunities once every 12 years.
Yeah.
We play the Lions. So most of us get one chance if that at all. And to have that jersey in my sort of locker is quite a special jersey. And also to have Gavin Hastings, who was the captain of the Lions. He's a very good mate of mine, and he played at the University Club after the World Cup in 87 when we won the Gallagher Shield there. Gavin was part of that team, so a lot of fond memories.
Was that the win of your career, that third test against the Lions, or was it perhaps that Rugby World Cup final, or something else?
I think I'm very fortunate. I played in a great era of All Black rugby, and to have a Lions series win is really special. To have a World Cup winners medal is really special. But even 95, Jeff will probably get onto that. Losing that final at Alice Park, that was a memory of a game that was just unbelievable. Really, all the emotions around it was very special. But the Lions series is right up there.
Yeah, I actually wasn't going to talk about those other two World Cups. We've been over them a few times. Quite like remembering the 1987 one, but yes, perhaps that'll be an opportunity for another conversation at another time.
Sure.
We're coming up to 3 p.m. and just wanted to say thanks very much for all the great memories and for your service to the game and to the country, and a real pleasure to talk to you today, Sean Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, good, Jesse. Nice to relive those memories, which are nice to have. Thank you.